Let's bring in Democratic Senator Jackie Rosen of Nevada. She's a member of both the Armed Services and Foreign Relations committees. Senator, great to have you here. First, I want to revisit what the president said about affordability. Let's listen.
They say, oh, he doesn't realize prices are high. Prices are coming down very substantially. But they have a new word. You know, they always have a hoax. The new word is affordability. So they look at the camera and they say, this election is all about affordability.
Senator, what do you think your constituents would make of that answer?
Well, I think they would think Trump is absolutely ridiculous. And first of all, I want to thank you for having me on to talk about this, because affordability is not a new word. And if you're a regular person, not a billionaire, with all your billionaire buddies in the cabinet, flying around in your private jets and vacationing on your private yachts, you would understand that when you went to the grocery store, when you went to pay your utility bills, when you went to pay your rent or mortgage, everything is going up and up. And so when's the last time Donald Trump went to the grocery store? I'd like to know that. I'd like to know what's on Donald Trump's grandchildren's Christmas list as he tells people to buy less gifts. What are all of his cabinet? What are they buying for their friends and relatives? I'm sure every grandkid gets a yacht. Kristi Noem's getting a couple of planes. We know that. And so it's absolutely ridiculous. He can't hide from what my constituents, from everyone I know, they go to the market every week, at least once a week, and they see those prices, and they can't hide from that.
Now, speaking of affordability, let's talk about health care as well. Close to 95,000 Nevadans could lose enhanced ACA subsidies if they expire at the end of this year. The Republican proposal is calling for giving funds directly to consumers through health savings account instead of paying the subsidies to insurance companies that would lower the premiums. I guess if the choice is either or, why won't Democrats go along with that, Republican idea?
Well, first of all, let me tell you this. After 40 days, it became clear to us that Republicans were trying to run out the clock and let it go to December 31st with the shutdown, when ACA window closes to enroll and the subsidies would fully expire. We got a vote. We're going to have that vote tomorrow morning, I believe, to do a clean extension. We didn't add any Democratic wish lists. We didn't add anything else. We just want to say, don't kick millions of people, make them make that choice between health care, food, or rent. And so they can go on the record. I have some of my colleagues saying, well, we're all going to die anyway. We have other colleagues who say people don't actually need insurance. It's absolutely ridiculous. They can go on the record and see if they care about their friends, neighbors, and relatives' ability to get insurance. And as far as giving the subsidies to people, that doesn't change the issue, because the insurance companies are not going to lower the prices. So you'll give it to someone. They're going to give it back to the insurance agency. It's not addressing the affordability issue that we have right now in our healthcare system. And so it is a ridiculous bill that they're putting forward. If they were smart, what I've been asking to vote for the extension, let's put together a bipartisan group of us. Let's find those bills that we're ready, have good bipartisan support over the last few years, things we agree on. Let's put that package together. Do that first to address some of the issues of fraud or affordability, and then we can continue to discuss other common sense reforms or argue about the things we disagree on. But it shouldn't prevent us from moving forward on extending the subsidies and doing what we agree on. That's what I've been asking for all along.
Let's pivot to the ongoing fallout from the boat strikes. The Republican chair of the House Armed Services Committee, again talking about the House, says he is ending their probe. You're on the Senate side of this. What are you hearing from your Republican colleagues? Are they ready to just move on as well?
Well, I certainly hope not. And I can tell you, Chair Wicker, a veteran himself, both Roger Wicker and Jack Reed, both veterans, they're Democratic, Republican leaders of our Armed Services Committee. They understand the importance of doing a thorough investigation. That it's important for our men and women who serve right now that they understand what the rules are and that we follow those rules, that their families who serve alongside with them feel that their family members are protected and taken care of. And I wish that Secretary Hegseth would just listen to the Secretary Hegseth when he was a Fox News commentator who railed on Trump at that debate. saying that all of these things, if you followed illegal acts, what that would do to morale and how that would change. So now that he's become secretary, he's changed his tune. What's happened, if we believe what we see on this double strike and others, we should see that intelligence, we should see the strike, this should all be transparent. It's murder. It's a war crime. There are rules of engagement. The United States needs to stand for something. Rules aren't suggestions. Laws aren't suggestions. They aren't whether you decide they're smart or stupid. They're to be followed, and if not, then there are processes to do that. He's doing none of it. Secretary Hegseth should resign, and depending on where this investigation goes, if it is a war crime, he should be impeached.
We know there have been a number of briefings now with lawmakers on this issue about the boat strike, specifically about September 2nd and what happened with killing those survivors. All this has been behind closed doors, hasn't been all-inclusive when it comes to members of Congress. What questions still need to be answered, even for you, who maybe has had more access to some of the intelligence and information than other colleagues of yours? And what do you see as the next step?
Well, thank you for that question. I can tell you I have seen the Office of Legal Counsel report. I can't talk about it. It's still classified. It is a legal opinion. Lawyers on the Armed Services Committee who had access to seeing this and others say it is flimsy at best. It should be declassified for everyone to see the justification. Also, on these boat strikes, they should declassify the intelligence, or at the very least, give it to those of us, I said on Foreign Relations and Armed Services, so we can see what happened and also see the transcripts, everything about these strikes. We're hoping that at least those of us on Armed Services are going to be able to see that video, see the transcripts. We know that leadership has seen it. Everyone in Congress should see it. Let the facts determine where we go forward. This is why we need a robust investigation. This shouldn't be a partisan issue. This is about respect for our country, respect for the rules of engagement, respect for our veterans, and especially for our active duty military. It's about respect and convention, and we need to be sure that we are doing what we need to do to be sure that America is still that trusted and respected country around the world. Secretary Hegseth doesn't have the character or demeanor. He just likes to, well, I'm just going to say it this way, he just likes to show pictures of blowing shit up. I got a bunch of video games, if that's what he wants to do that, that don't put any active duty men or women in harm's way. He wants to blow shit up and put pictures of it up. God bless him. But don't you dare put anybody in harm's way for your visual.
Senator Jackie Rosen.
And protect everyone.
Thank you, Senator. Thank you for being here with us. And we appreciate your passion. Come back soon. Coming up.